Hello, hi, welcome back to the City Girl Writer channel, where I talk about books and films. And today, in my nice, comfy, warm stitch onesie, I am gonna record one last video for the year 2022. So in this video, I'm planning on just really reflecting on this year and, talk about some goals for next year, whether it's reading and YouTube and life stuff. Let's reflect. This is a time to reflect. As I'm recording right now, today is Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays if you don't celebrate Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever holiday you celebrate around this time of year. Happy holidays. But as for today's Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas. So today, let's actually pull out my handy dandy notebook over here. And let's talk about some general stats for 2022. All right, let's start with the reading stuff. So how many books have I read? Good question. I have read 75 books so far. I still have 6 more days of the year. So honestly, that number could change. I could add a book or two. But for right now, I'm at 75. Pages read, 26,433. Usually I don't really pay attention to pages read, but to the looks of it, I was like, wow, that's a lot of pages for 75 books. A lot of pages, which gives me an average rating of 4.23. That is a really high average rating. Not gonna lie. I'm like, wow, that really does mean that my reading year has been pretty good. And to be honest, yeah, my reading year has been very good. I've been giving out a lot of the 4-star range, even some 5 stars. Some more in the, higher 3s, sometimes I get 3s and things that are less than 3s. But overall, my reading year has been really, really good. And I want to keep it that way. But I also think I think one thing that has been making my reading year pretty good, though, is that I like to DNF books. And I did keep track of how many DNFs I have. And to looks of it, as of today, I have a total of 19 books that I DNF'd. That's a lot. That's a lot of books that I did not finish. Some books are just not meant for me at this moment, so I'll try again maybe next year. Maybe there are some DNFs that I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should finish it. Maybe I'll just try again, And then, I'll read it next year. Or there's just books I'm like, yeah, no, this is not it for me. I'm never reading this. Never going to try to read it. So now I kind of want to quickly do my top 5 best books, top 5 worst books of the year, instead of just making a dedicated video on that, because I'm just going to go kind of quickly on these ones. But let's start with the worst books. Now we're going to go with the ones that are the least worst to the absolute worst. Now, I only consider books that are really bad books if it's less than 3.0 stars. If it's less than 3 stars, I'm considering it a bad book. Even if it's 2.75, I'm like, nope, you'll be on the list. And honestly, there's only been 5 books that are less than 3 stars. So this made my list pretty easy. So we'll start with number 5. And we have Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour. Now, this one, I don't really remember too much what it's about, but I do remember it being literary fiction. I think also has a sapphic relationship in here in that book. But I think the thing, though, I did not like, what was the rating? I think the rating was 2.75. So it was very close to being a 3-star. I think the thing that made me not really like it to even being a 3-star read was the fact that I didn't care for the romantic relationship between the two main characters that were following along. I liked the main characters, both the main characters' individual journeys, but I just was not a fan of their romance together. I'm just like, what does this have to do with anything? If anything, I'd just rather read a book of their journeys separately than having it together in a relationship, because it never made any sense to me. I don't understand. I'm glad there's people who loved it and liked it, but for me, sorry, no, 2.75 for me. And for number 4, we have Gilded by Marissa Meyer. Now, please don't come for my throat on this one, because this is my very first Marissa Meyer book that I've actually fully read. Because I did attempt to read Cinder back in middle school. And honestly, I was kind of bored with Cinder. I think I got through 1 chapter. But then again, that was middle school. But this one I also give 2.75 stars. It's not a terrible book, but it is a disappointing one. I think the thing I did not like about Gilded is that I thought it was going to be a standalone, only to find out that it was going to have a sequel. It's going to be part of a duology. Even though I'm just I don't know if a Rumpelstiltskin retelling needs to have a second book. And there was a little bit, I felt like there was a little bit meandering around during the novel. So I'm just like, and it's also like a little bit over 500 pages. And I'm just like, we could have saved some time by just combining, like, why did we have to expand the story to 2 books? I don't understand. So I'm never going to read Cursed. And I listened to Gilded, also Yoruba Buena as well, via audio, but I did like the audiobook for Gilded, which made my reading experience really good because I was able to, like, you know, get through it. And also I did like the dark atmosphere because it is indeed a dark Rumpelstiltskin retelling. I did actually like the fact that it was dark. So it's not like I hated Marissa Meyers' writing. I think she is a good writer. I just did not like the story. I'm not a huge fan of Cyrilda, who's the main character in Gilded. I don't remember the main character names in Yoruba Buena, sorry. But for Gilded, I do remember Cyrilda. And she was okay. I don't care for her as much. Gild as well. I don't care for him as much. I don't know, I just don't care too much about the world and the magic and stuff. It was just a nice audiobook just to listen to, and it's a fine enough story to get me through a day or a few days, but other than that, I didn't really care for Gilded that much. I was just kind of bored, sorry. But you know, those ones aren't like anything too egregious, just, they're still low ratings, sorry. 2.75 as well. Now, 3 and 2 honestly are kind of interchangeable, because the number ratings are the same, but I also have I have anger towards those 2 ones specifically, but we're going to start with just number 3. Number 3 is another disappointing read. Actually, it was my biggest disappointment in the first half of the year, and that is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. Now, I know a lot of people have raved and loved The Atlas 6 to the point that the self-published version blew up on TikTok, that Tor picked it up and traditionally published it, and now it's even a series. It's actually going to be part of a trilogy. So right now we have the Atlas 6 right now. There's Atlas Paradox, that's the sequel. I have no idea what the third book's called. It'd be the Atlas something. It's the Atlas trilogy. So one thing I did not like as well with Atlas 6, first of all, I didn't like the fact that it was even going to be a series, because I'm just like, I don't know, like, I'm not really a big fan of dark academia books that become series. I'm just like, I don't see how. Yeah, but honestly, I actually did make a dedicated negative review on my Instagram with the Atlas 6, but just like a general things that I did not like. Well, first of all, I did not really like the characters, but I know the characters are supposed to be unlikable, but like, if the characters are unlikable, can they at least make sense? Like, I don't know. Maybe I just didn't understand this one. This one I also read via audio, and I read this one in like 48 hours. The audiobook made it real quick. And actually, that's one of the reasons why, it's actually kind of the main reason why I was generous with this rating and giving it 2 stars. Because, you know, the book was really pretty. It was really nice. I'm like, damn, the cover. I'm like, ooh, Tor really did well in the design here. I was like, damn it, Tor, you tricked me in this one. But also the audiobook, though, was really good, too. So, you know, that made it at least enjoyable. But as far as, like, the actual story itself, I didn't understand the point of the story. I don't understand why these characters were doing the things they were doing. Like, if you're going to have morally gray characters, can you at least explain to me their motivations for anything? Like, I can't really tell you much about any of the 6 characters that are part of this, that want to be a part of the Alexandrian society here. I'm just like, I'm not understanding why we're even here. And it's also multiple POV. So I'm just like, there's no excuse for me to not know what's going on in each of these characters' heads. Like, what's going on? I don't care for any of this. And in fact, there's even, well, actually, technically, this is really a spoiler. So I don't know what I'm going to do in the screen, but I'll just make a scene that, you know, there's spoilers here. But there is a scene where 3 characters have a threesome. But I was like, okay, first of all, it's not even graphic, so it's just told that it happened, but it's not graphic, so good for me at least. Whew. But it's like, I don't understand why we had to have a threesome, why those characters decided to have a threesome, and what that amounted to. I'm like, what's the purpose? I'm just like, well, how you can have a threesome scene and it amounted to nothing? It meant nothing. Is that the point, that it meant nothing? I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, that's the end of the spoilers. But like, yeah, I don't know. Alice 6, I just don't understand. I don't really understand why anyone who read this book enjoyed it to the point that they want to read the sequel. In fact, a lot of the people I hear that talked about the Alice 6 can't even really remember that what happened. So I'm just like, so that's not helping me for someone who's trying to understand why you even loved it if you don't even remember what happened in it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I want someone to explain to me the point of the Alice 6. I don't understand. I don't even understand why it's part of a series. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm not one of the girlies who understood. Now, book number 2. So yes, as far as all this stuff, it's all ranked. Even my best books are all ranked. So book number 2 also has a 2.0 star rating, and this one is Fire Becomes Her by Rosie Thor. Now, I do feel bad for giving this a really bad rating because I did hear, this is what is this? A queer historical fantasy? Yeah, a YA queer historical fantasy. And it actually features an A-spec character. So I think I don't know if the main character is, no, I don't think the main character is ace, but I think the main girl is like aero-spec. I think she's an aromantic spectrum or something, or maybe even asexual, or the person that she's partnered with is also in the asexual spectrum. I don't know, there's just it's either one or two characters that are like in the aromantic spectrum or a spectrum, somewhere around there. And there's even a portrayal of a queer platonic relationship. Like there's the main character, I don't remember her name, and there's other person, I don't remember names. I don't even own the book. A lot of these books I'm talking here I don't even own, so I'm just putting the covers on the screen because I don't own them. But yeah, there's the main girl, and there's this partner that she has that becomes her queer platonic partner, at least coding to be queer platonic. And I thought that's actually cool, and I actually heard about this on Instagram, so I was like, wow, I've actually never heard of a book, especially in YA, that not even just in any book that portrays a queer platonic relationship. And that's honestly was the selling point for me. I mean, the queer platonic relationship is there, but what I say was good? No, I don't think it was good. I don't think it was well developed. I don't think the main character was well developed, or any of the characters at all. Even the world I felt was just flat. I'm like, what is this story? I don't even remember what the book it is even about. Oh, I remember the main girl's name. Ingrid. Yep, that's her name. Okay, I remember now. Yeah, Ingrid. I don't like Ingrid at all. I'm just like what? I don't understand her deal. I know that she's trying to get some political gain, which also is another thing that sold me into the book as well. This one I also listened via audio. I like the audiobook, but I was not a fan of the story, and I was not caring about the politics that was going on within the story. Like, I could care less about going through an election process. I'm like, I don't care. It was boring. I'm just like, what is this? I came in with high hopes and it fell flat. I'm just like, are you kidding me? The one book with featuring a queer platonic relationship, and this is what I get. This is what I get. Like, for real. You know, man, that was a waste of my damn time. And now, the number one worst book that I have read this year, with the rating of 1.5. If you've seen my previous video, you would have seen that I've pretty much talked about this book for about 47 minutes. Do I need to talk more about why this book is the literally number one worst? Literally the lowest rated book I've ever read in my life, at least that I know of. This book here, literally the worst book I've ever read. I'm like, this was literally a waste of time. I'm just stuck with that book right now. I'm not a no happy camper at all. So yeah, but anyways, that's like the 5 worst books I've read this year. But let's get to something good, you know? Let's talk about the 5 best books I've read this year, all right? So we're going to go in order from the 5th best to the absolute top favorite, all right? Best of the best, cream of the crop of this year, all right? At number 5, we have Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. Now, I already have a video dedicated as well to Jade Legacy. And as far as even the Greenbone Saga, I will also put in the cards and link down below my book me ranting about the cloisters. But as far as Jade Legacy, let's talk about the good stuff, okay? This book, as far as I can remember, is the only book in even in any of the books I've read this year, this one I did read via audio, and this is the only book I've read that I cried. Like, actual tears were running down my face. I was crying. I'm not crying just once. I cried twice. And it's because of two particular character deaths that I will not spoil here. This book made me cry. It made me emotional because it's finally the conclusion to the Greenbone saga that I have the absolute pleasure of reading this year. And it's just so good. I don't know what to really say because, again, it's literally the conclusion to a trilogy. So, like, I can't really speak too much on it. But, like, I don't know how else to say it. But, like, I will put in the cards up above of all my thoughts on Jade Legacy and just also the other two books as well if you have not read the Greenbone saga. So, you know, please read Jade Legacy if you have not already. Like, if you've read JCJ War, please read Jade Legacy. Please. I need more people to read it because I know people were really scared. But I'm like, y'all need to read. Y'all need to read. All right. Number 4 spot. We have Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi. Now, this book here, this one I had the pleasure of annotating, and I also had the pleasure of reading via audio. If I remember correctly, actually, Akwaeke Emezi themselves have narrated this book. And this book was a spiritual experience for me. Because, how do I even explain what this one's about? It's pretty much about let me try and figure out how do I explain what this is about? It follows a young child, actually a young girl named Ada, who's pretty much considered as born with one foot on the other side. And the only way I can really describe this is that this really focuses on Igbo spirituality, and especially with being an Obanje, which is pretty much a small trickster god where their souls are within a mortal child, and they pretty much are like a god, like a small god. I think that's the best way I can really explain it, because, and also, in a way, actually, Freshwater, when I was reading it, this was before I even read Dear Cerinthian, which is Akwaeke Emezi's memoir. Like, I was reading Freshwater, and I just knew that this was semi-autobiographical. It just felt so personal that I knew that this was like, oh no, the author went through this. The experiences here was definitely something that Akwaeke Emezi went through as well. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but like, this one I was reading with Dear Cerinthian, it definitely calls back a little bit some things that happened that was regarding with Freshwater. So I was like, nah, I was definitely right. Freshwater is somewhat semi-autobiographical. Now, I don't know if it's for sure, but like, that's how I was reading it. And it really wasn't a spiritual experience because there are this is one of the few books that I can actively read that's written by not only just Nigerian author, but specifically an Igbo author. So it definitely made me want to explore more about this author's literary works. And I've actually, as of this month, I have recently read all 7 of their books. I literally start off with their debut. This is their debut novel, and I've read their sophomore novel, their memoir, their 2 young adult novels, their poetry collection, and their adult romance novel. So, yeah, Akwaeke Emezi is literally pretty much became a favorite author of mine. And I don't necessarily can say recommend this, because this is not really something I can generally recommend, because there is a lot of trigger warnings in here, and I don't think this is something that everyone could really massively understand. So if you're interested in reading Freshwater, you can read it. Now, if you're not, you don't have to. It's just tread at your own caution, all right? Take it at your own risk. I think that's the best way to really talk about it. I'm sorry I'm not really able to describe this stuff really well. It's just, it has been a while since I read Freshwater, but it's also just like, that book really was just something that did to me personally. And I do actually want to also see if I can reread that one as well, because I do want to come in again with even better eyes now that I've pretty much read all of Akwaeke Emezi's works, and just relive the experience a little bit, you know? All right. Now we're at number 3. And this is actually the only, I read very few nonfiction this year. I think I've only read maybe 5 nonfiction books, and they were all memoirs. But this was actually not the first, actually. This is the second memoir I read this year. And that is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This book. This one I also read via audio. Actually, you will notice that I read a lot of audiobooks. A lot of these books I've been reading have been read via audio. Now, this one, I had the pleasure of reading via audio. In fact, I actually do recommend, if you do read this, to read it via audio, because Chanel Miller herself, of course, narrated the memoir. But if you don't know who this woman is or what this book is about, this is pretty much talking about the Brand Stanford versus, I think, the state of California regarding the Stanford University sexual assault case. I think it was back in like 2015. I don't know. It was sometime in the mid 2010s. And it follows, well, Emily Doe, aka Chanel Miller, about going through the court process, basically, and just even these traumatic memories of the sexual assault. And this memoir follows that, pretty much like the court process. So I will have to say that this book is graphic and all that. Heavily content warnings on sexual assault, because it does get very graphic on that. And I said I wanted to recommend the audiobook because at the very end of the memoir, Chanel Miller actually narrates her victim impact statement. The emotion I felt listening to her narrate the victim impact statement really got me emotional, because she was also emotional while she was reading that victim impact statement. And I felt it. I heard in her own voice the way that how she actually was just trying her best just to even, be calm. Like, I could tell that she felt the anger, the reliving of those emotions again at that time again. I'm just like, this novel really is an important, not novel, this memoir is a very, very important memoir to read for anyone, just in any time, if you can handle the content warnings here. And I really do recommend this via audiobook, because hearing Chanel Miller talk about her story, it comes off. And just even the writing itself is also really, really good. Like, she's really a great writer. So if you do just read it physically, you still get really, really good writing here. Via audio, you just hear from her. And also, I don't really like this cover. I really wish I got a different cover. There's actually a different cover that has like her face on it. And I wish I had that one, because that way I can, like, know her name, but also seeing her face, just saying. But anyways, please do read it if you can handle the content warnings. All right. Number 2, the second best. This one I read in January of this year, and it was actually my very first 5-star rated book. And it's actually quite interesting, because this is a book that if I didn't go into my gap year, I actually would have read this in school. But I decided that, well, since I'm going to be in my gap year and I still have this copy of this book, I might as well just read it, because just why not? I want to get back in reading. Let me just read it. And I thought it was interesting. And I was able to snag the audiobook for it. And that is Beloved by Toni Morrison. Yo, this one was heavily annotated. This is actually the very first book I've ever annotated for myself. So as you can tell, the tabs are kind of sticking out a little bit. And honestly, I do want to reread and re-annotate this one. And I have a better understanding with the story here. But this one, I rated like 5 stars right away. I had the honor of also getting this book read via audio as well, narrated by the Toni Morrison. Honestly, I don't know if all of Toni Morrison's books were narrated by her. Probably not all, but I do know for sure this one was definitely narrated by her. And there was even a foreword in this one as well, that I think also really did help with some context for the story. Honestly, I don't fully remember what really happened in this novel, but all I remember is how it made me feel and how it made me angry. And I felt angry and frustrated along with the characters and just what they were going through. And I was also curious about Beloved, the baby that died. And this one also was one I had to think about for a while. because I didn't initially fully understand everything. So I really had to sit with this one. And actually I wanted to make it write a dedicated review for Beloved, but time passed and then I kind of forgot certain details. So I was just like, you know what? Probably won't be able to do it. And also, I don't think even a single review can really fully dive deep into this book, which totally makes sense why this book was even for my multicultural literature class I was taking in that fall. And I'm just like, I see why this was a book we were reading for school. This is something I would have loved to discuss in class. So hopefully, when I go back and retake that class, I can also reread Beloved and fully discuss it as well. But yeah, I'm definitely rereading it next year. I don't know when I'll be able to reread it, but I'm definitely rereading it and also re-annotating it. And also, this book not only just introduced me to Toni Morrison and her beloved writing, but get it, but also it made me want to read her other books. In fact, I'm starting to collect all of her fiction. I only have 7, including this one, so there's still, I think, 3-4 more of her fiction that that I really want to buy. And hopefully I can also binge read all of her books as well. So I've only read Beloved, and I've read her debut, which is The Bluest Eye. That one I also gave, I gave 4.75 stars though. That one I only was able to read via audio, but I do think that if you read a Toni Morrison book, I think it's good that you can get the physical copy and annotate. There's always something with Toni Morrison. The way that she writes, it's just I can't just pick up a Toni Morrison book and just read it. I have to analyze it. There's always something to analyze with her books. Even with The Bluest Eye, there's always something, She's just that great of a writer. Now, the number 1 book, numero uno. The one best book I've read, I know, that tops even Beloved for me, is obviously an imprint of HarperCollins. I think we all know what this number 1 book is. Actually, I think it's going to be a lot of people's number 1 favorite book if they really loved it. So I think it's not a surprise that this particular book is on the list. As far as its name, if you don't know, it's Babel by R.F. Kuang, obviously. I'm just not going to really talk too much about it because as I'm recording, because even though it is Christmas Day, HarperCollins Union is still on strike. HarperCollins has still not responded to this union's demands and their bargains or anything. So I'm just like, welp. So we ain't going to talk about, we can't really talk about any book that's under the imprint of HarperCollins. So that kind of sucks. But I will say this. My book has been heavily annotated, and I already have a reading vlog. So if you want to really know my thoughts, I can just link it in the cards up above. And I'll also link down below the link tree so that you can find ways to support the strike and also their bookshop as well. So if you want to even buy a copy of Babel, highly recommend you going down in the description, please, and ordering your copy from there. Make sure it shows HarperCollins Union Strike on the thing for bookshop.org. And also, if you want to get R.F. Kuang's newest book that's coming out next year, I think it's May of next year, also a pre-order from the bookshop, link down below as well. But anyways, that is all the books I've read that are my best and my worst. But anyways, that's for 2022. Hopefully when this video is up though, it will be New Year's Eve or maybe even New Year's Day around the New Year's. So hopefully when this video is up, it's the very last day of 2022 or very early into 2023. But let's talk about our 2023 goals. All right. Hello to 2023. Let's see. What are my goals for next year? Let's start with the reading goals. So 1, even though I have read 75 books, my goal for 2022 was actually 50 books. So I've already surpassed my reading goal for this year. So for next year, I want to read 75 books. Because if I was able to do it this year, then I think I can do it next year. And maybe, just maybe, I could even surpass it. Maybe I can get to 100 books. But let's acclimate to the 100 book goal. For right now, my goal for 2023 is to read 75 books. And while reading 75 books, I also want to reread books, start annotating more books. I also want to get more into reading novellas, graphic novels, nonfiction, and even poetry. Now, I will have to say, I'm not a big fan of poetry. I really am not. But I do believe that if I find the right poets or the right poetry collections, I think I can really get into poetry. I just need to like find my poets, you know, I gotta find them. I just gotta find them. I'll be very selective. And as far as my novellas, I'm really a slow reader, so honestly, anything that's like less than 200 pages is just gold for me. I want to see if I can find some novellas. I definitely want to get into graphic novels as well, because, you know, I like to read something quick and easy, you know? At least for me. Something I enjoy and stuff. Which also, I'll add in mangas here, trying to expand upon manga and also nonfiction, because, again, I've only read 5 memoirs, but, like, I also want to get into just general nonfiction as well. And some a little bit other reading goals, too, is to complete a reading challenge. This year, I have been tempted to I have participated in like readathons and stuff, but I have not been successful, unfortunately. But I do plan on actually succeeding in at least one readathon. Now, I'm not totally sure which ones I will be able to succeed in, but the ones I've been interested in is Blackathon, which takes place in February, of course, for Black History Month. The Asian Readathon that takes place in May. Full Moon Readathon, courtesy of Jan Agaton. That will be in one particular week. I think it's the second week of August. And there's this one Studio Ghibli readathon, which I didn't even know was even a thing. That unfortunately I didn't find out until the end of August that there was a thing. And it's supposed to take place over the entire month of August. So I also want to see if I can participate in that while also doing the Full Moon readathon as well. But I feel like I'm going to be good with at least completing at least one of those readathons. I'm hoping. We'll have to wait and see in this one. So that's the reading goals. Just last but not least, I have some particular series that I would like to read. Now, as far as the series I want to read, there are a lot of series. And I did realize that one of the series I want to read has a lot of books, but I'm just looking at my little handy dandy notebook here to see the names of all these series. I'm like, there's a lot of books, okay? There are a lot of series. A lot of them are trilogies and duologies. And there's a few rereads I want to do as well. So, yeah, let's just go through the list, okay? But anyways, that should be all. But that's just really all the reading stuff. I don't really have too many life goals, at least life goals in particular I really want to like share, besides like maybe do some more journaling, you know, self-reflection upon myself, you know, some personal work and personal care. But also I should actually talk about, since I'm also going to be for 2023, I do plan on actually introducing some film content for once, because this entire year has just been book stuff. But next year I really do plan to like have media analyses and video essays on like films, and even maybe some television shows, but just like we need to get some film content in here. Now, I won't really say that it's going to be book to film adaptation kind of content. I'm not really a big fan of the book to film adaptation stuff, or at least it's not something I really gravitate towards. So yeah, but I do have some plans for some media analyses and video essay ideas for sure. But I also want to say that because I also kind of want to revive my film podcast, which I know none of y'all know, but I do have a film podcast. It's called The Eye of Cinema. It is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I can link that down below, but I do want to like revive that podcast because I haven't had an episode since April 2022. Yeah, it's been a while, but also it's been a while since, for some reason, every single time a new episode comes out, it's been a while. There's only like 2 episodes right now, so like it is still fairly new, but like, oof, for some reason it just takes me a while to do a podcast. But I do want to like go back to it. So I think that's actually one of a major life goal for me, besides like, you know, working on myself and self-work and self-worth and self-care and just personal work on myself, is to also see if I can like revive that podcast, or at least to be a little bit more consistent on it. You know, like maybe not too active like I am on YouTube, but like at least every other month at least to have an episode, you know? Yeah, I think that actually is everything I have as far as what to reflect on any goals for next year. So yes, I hope y'all like my Stitch onesie. I think it's good for this time of year, 2022. So yeah, this should be the last video of 2022. I'm hoping that this video is up on New Year's Eve. Please, editing me, future me, please have this video up by New Year's Eve. I want people to make sure to be able to watch this video on that day, please. But anyways, yes, thank you again for coming to my channel. I hope y'all have a really nice holidays week and planning for the New Year's. Do you have anything y'all want to reflect on? Like whether it's reading or life-wise to reflect on this year? Do you have any reading goals, life goals, just goals in general for the next year? Let me know. And I will make sure that all the things I was talking about in this video are going to be linked down below or in the cards as well, as far as some other videos I have done this year so far. And I hope to see you all in the next year in 2023. Bye.